Hi, Dad Tunes the Curry Guy here, and I'm making one for my new book, The Curry Guy BBQ today. This is a I just love this recipe. It's one that it's for days that you just want to hang out in the garden and enjoy the day. There's not a lot to do. It does take some time though. This is going to take probably about 4, maybe 5, possibly even 6 hours to cook the way we're going to be cooking it today, which is going to be hanging over fire. So we're just going to get some smoke slowly heating up this bone here, and it's going to cook from the outside and the inside. And as you can see here, I've got this a full leg of lamb and this little bit of cartilage. That's what's I'm going to put a hook on there so it just hangs over the fire. It's a great way of cooking lamb. Gets a nice soft smoke flavor. It's not a real harsh flavor like you get in a smoker. You just from the smoke delicately touching it and cooking it all day, it just gives it this beautiful flavor. This is a very easy recipe, and it's not one that there's not a lot of spices in it. It all comes down to the quality of the lamb and just watching it in the smoke of the fire. And this one little thing here, for the recipe you need about 250 milliliters, so that's about a cup of cider vinegar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, we need about 500 milliliters of water. So I'm going to have some garlic and ginger paste. We don't want too much in there because we want it to spray. It's really just to season the water a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, put just a little bit of that in there. Then salt. Now you do need quite a lot of salt, because the salt, when you add it to the lamb, it will just sit there on the surface and it will flavor it. And a lot of it, even though you're adding a lot of salt, that salt's going to just drip off into the fire, a lot of it. So it's not going to be really salty. It's just going to give it a nice flavor, savory flavor on the outside. So often what I do is I salt the meat a whole day before I actually go out and cook it. And you'd think that would make it, the liquid come out of it, draw the liquid out, but no, it doesn't. It actually makes the meat a lot juicier. Now I didn't have time to do that with this because we're having some people over tonight and we just ended up going out and picking this up at the last minute. However, if I were doing this when I had the time, I would just sprinkle this generously with salt, which I'm going to just go ahead and do now. And this isn't in my book, by the way. This is just something that, because I can't put everything in the book, because if I put everything in the book, people start saying the recipes are too complicated and you have to do too much. But this is just something I do at home, so it's worth watching my videos as well, so you can see some of the things that maybe didn't go into the book. But all I've done here is I've given this a really nice salty coating on the outside, and as that fat begins to drip into the fire pit, so will the salt. But some of that salt is going to stay, it's going to soak into the meat, and it's just going to be absolutely, it's just going to make, it takes it up a level, believe me. So I'll just put a little bit more on there. So that's a good start anyway. I've got my lamb, I'm going to go over and I'm going to put it on the fire now. Okay, so I've started this little fire, and it is really a small fire now, just a little bit of kindling. And I'm just going to get that going, and I'm going to hang the meat over it. And at the first stage, we're just going to let that meat hang. And I'm probably just going to go grab myself a beer and sit down and relax for a bit, because for the first couple hours, you just want it to just sit there and hang and soak in all that smoke. As it cooks, though, you'll see that the part of the bottom part that's closest to the fire, that usually will cook faster than obviously the top part. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to move the wood around a little bit as it cooks, and just kind of maybe even lower the meat down into closer to the fire. And then I'm going to show you another trick later, just in case that little bit at the top, that shank, is not cooked at all. There are things you can do. Depending on the size of the lamb like you're using, small ones are the easiest. They'll take you about 3 to 4 hours. If you're doing one the size that I've got over there, you're looking at 4 to 5 hours. It works for all sizes of lamb legs. So just depending on how much time you've got, that's what you're going to go with. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and take this now, and I'm going to put it right through that hook. You can use anything. You don't have to have any fancy equipment. This is what I've got. You could even use a hanger. I've used a lot of different things. Just make something up. It'll work. As long as the thing's hanging, you could have the fire on the ground. You could have it in a barbecue, whatever. You need to have fire You need to have a nice smoky flavor. It's a good quality hardwood logs. And then you've got this lamb, which is just going to sit there. And as it cooks, it's going to heat up the bone, and it's just going to start cooking from both directions in. So we're going to get the smokiness on the outside. We're going to get that bone sizzling hot inside, which is going to help cook the meat all the way through. And as you can see, this is quite a long ways from the fire, so I am going to need to lower this down. I'm not going to do it now, but I will lower that down later and just cook it so that so maybe you put some of the wood around. You'll see it all happen. This has been going now for about a good hour, maybe hour and 20 minutes. I'm just going to spray it all around with this salt, water, garlic, vinegar mixture. I can do this about every half hour or so now. So it's just going to keep, I'm just going to spray just to keep it moist on the outside. And because you might be able to see this, it's getting really toasty on the bottom. That means that the bone itself is heating up and cooking from the inside. But I want to start cooking it from another side here. So I'm going to move all this charcoal and wood over to one side. And you'll just need to do this every now and then. I got some really nice restaurant grade charcoal here from Big K. So I'm going to pile that on there a little bit. We don't ever want a really big fire. We just want to have it nice, just a nice fire going, nothing too blazing hot. And I'm just going to take this, move it down a bit. Just a bit. There we are. Just let that hang there like that. And now what I'll do is I'll probably keep it about that level now for the rest of the cook. But I want there to be a good space between the wood burning, the burning wood, and the meat itself. So a good foot or so. So I'm just going to move that over as best I can. And that will now cook from this side. And if it starts to burn or anything like that, which I don't think it will, just because it's not that intense a fire, but if it starts to, then I'll just move it back up again, or I'll move the coal over to the other side. But we're going to just continue doing this for another, well, it's probably got another 3 hours to go. So we'll just let that sit there and cook. Have a little bit, still have a few coals at the bottom just to keep that bone hot and cooking from the center. All right, so we're about 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours into the cook. And I'm just giving it a little bit of a spray here. It's looking so good right now. Probably has about another hour to go. It's feeling hot. It's looking nice. It's smelling nice.
Guests are arriving and they're hungry.
Yeah, we got guests arriving. And yeah, so I'm probably just gonna pile this up. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. Put another log on there. Bit of charcoal. We're gonna let that just sit there and cook for a while, and it's gonna be, I'm feeling hungry. This looks good. Okay, I'm gonna check this now. It's so juicy and nice. That right there at the bottom is a perfect 60 degrees, 140 Fahrenheit. Up here, which is the part that's difficult, we're looking at about 55. So what I'm going to do here, it's starting to rain a bit, I'm going to take this off. I'm just going to put that right down on the coals. I'm going to let that cook until it's the right temperature, so about 60, 140. And then we're just going to let it sit. We don't need to let it rest very long because it's been resting the whole time it's been on there. That's just going to heat it up right now, right through the shank there. Now, obviously, if you're using a smaller piece, you'll get that whole bit right here. That's perfectly cooked right now. So if you use a smaller piece, a smaller leg, you won't have to do this. see here. Oh, that's going to be perfect. It's about 58 now. It's getting hotter and hotter. It's just going to cook that shank through. It's been hanging there. It's going to be so tender. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. All right, so it's ready now. I can hardly wait for this. Oh, yeah. We got every sort of meat in here. We got really pink stuff. Look at that. Really nice and pink. I'm going to chop this all up as well. Oh, yeah. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We have a huge feast coming up now. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. We got some lamb. We got some chickens going over here. Yeah, I can hardly wait to dig in. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to see when I have new videos coming up, be sure to hit that notification bell. We got a lot more on the way. Thanks a lot.